What's up YouTube, Dara here from Zephyr Wargames, and today I am bringing you an update to Infernoble Night with some added spice. That's right, throughout more and more testing of the deck, I kind of went back to an old tech that I was using, and it actually gives you so much more versatility and allows you to play through more interruptions. So with all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell, and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more upcoming content. With all of that out of the way, we're going to dive head first into the Infernoble Night profile. So I'm going to start off with triple Infernoble Knight Renard. This is obviously pretty staple, I would say. More times than not, you want to be getting to it off of, like, you want to search it. You don't want to search it off of Isolde unless you've already used this effect. And it's kind of like one of your free extenders. Now, obviously, it does clash with one of the core cards in the deck. And that is, of course, your Neospatian. But I feel the Neospatian is so important and so powerful that it's so good that it would be so damaging not to play it. If it was a fire, happy days, it would be complete. The issue with it not being a fire is what causes the issues should it get stopped. So throughout this build, I'll show you the different options that I've kind of gone with in order to kind of make sure that that doesn't happen. I've then got two Yugioh. I kind of still want to put this at 3, but I'm not sure what space I'd make. At the moment the deck's on 41. There's one card that I'm tempted to cut, and that is of course the Red Power Ranger, or basically the free extender of the Super Quantal Red layer, but I haven't really decided if I fully want to cut it yet. You could cut Oliver down to 1 as well, but again, through more and more testing, yes, Oliver is a nice extender, which is why you kind of don't mind playing it at 2. But on the downside as well, you kind of want to keep it in the deck so that in the end of the turn, you can use it to target a warrior monster you control, and then it means it cannot be targeted. And that's where you probably want to consider comboing off with Metal Silver Armor. Now, Metal Silver Armor is technically I think it's only have a 1 print, and it's in like Magical Forces or Magician Forces. So very, very old. It's like £5 for a common. Obviously a little bit of hype off the back of this. But what it does is it means that only your opponent can target the monster that it's equipped to, and the idea is you equip it with Oliver so that it can't be targeted, and you equip it with the Metal Silver Armor so it's the only one that can be targeted, and it basically means your opponent cannot target anything on the board. Doesn't stop a Kaiju, but still. Then for the one-ofs, of course, we've got the 1 Turpin, the 1 Ricard, and then everything else starts floating down into stuff like Immortal Gearfried. So this is obviously your main negator. The idea behind all of this, and that's why I really rate the Yugioh play, is that you Foolish Burial the Gearfried, and then the idea is you're going to special summon down Renard. Renard is then going to add back the Gearfried, and you're able to summon the Gearfried down while setting up a negation, so you don't need to worry about Nibiru. Now, keep in mind as well, Immortal Gearfried is only a monster negator, but the idea is you get a monster negator off of Gearfried, and then you get the spell and trap off of Oliver, which is basically what your end board should be pushing to if you get the 2-card combo off, which is of course Yugioh plus access to the museum. Then for the one of extenders, of course, we've got the Fire Flint and we've got the Super Quantal Red layer. And then for the other starter of the deck, and probably just as important, is your Neospatian connector. So this with 1 Aquadolphin. Now this does require a little bit more investment, because the idea is you normally summon the connector, use connector's effect to special summon the Aquadolphin. What connector does so well is just because of that ability to get you to Aquadolphin, no one wants to let you have 2 warriors on the board. So instantly, this is the point where your opponent's going to either Ash you, Impermit you, or Veil you. They're going to stop the connector where at all possible because they do not want you to look at their hand. So if they've got something to stop you, they will use it there. The only reason they would ever hold a card back is if they're going to hold back an Imperm, and you would see that when you make the connector play anyway, and you're like, well, if I go into Isolde, they're just holding the Imperm for the Isolde. It's a lot harder for an Infernoble Knight player to continue if the connector is stopped, because it's not a fire. So instantly it means you need to open up an additional Fire and Oliver, or you need to be able to open up an extender in the form of the Super Quant Red layer or the Fire Flint. So that's how it naturally plays out, which is why it's so difficult. So what do I play to make it even more consistent should it get stopped? Well, very simply, I play Ready Fusion and Instant Fusion. I know a lot of you are going to be like, whoa, what is the actual target? Well, Joey would be very proud of this one. Your target of Instant Fusion and Ready Fusion can both be Flame Swordsman. Now this has so many different applications to the deck, it's crazy. The fact that it's a level 5 means that if I just go normal summon a Oliver and activate Instant Fusion or Ready Fusion to get a Flame Swordsman, I can go straight into a Charles, and then that Charles can then be equipped with the Oliver, and that can then go into the Great Emperor Charles. So very simple 2-card combo direct to it. Obviously it's not the best 2-card combo, but it's one of them options. It's also a nice free extender, so you go normal summon connector. Does my opponent have an Ash, Imperm, Veiler, or a way to stop the connector? No? Okay, cool. Then we're going to be going straight into the Neospatian. Neospatian, discard a card, look at my opponent's hand, get full knowledge, and then go from there. If they do stop it, then Ready Fusion can instantly give you Flame Swordsman on the board. That's your 2 warriors for Isolde. Now it would mean that your opponent needs 2 hand traps to stop you, otherwise you're going to go straight into a Isolde and then use Isolde's effect as you see fit. Obviously, if they do have those 2 hand traps to stop you, then it's still going to be an uphill battle. But the idea is that you've baited out one directly with Connector and you're still able to play. Of course, it can be flipped on the other side round, which is where you open up Red Layer, and you can also open up the Fire Flint. But the issue with these, and it's the reason why you play the Ready Fusion and the Instant Fusion, is the way you've got to look at it. Because Fire Flint, Instant Fusion, and Red Layer are all technically like once per turns, each of those, you now have 4 single copies that technically you could activate all 4 in the same turn. You can only activate both of these in the same turn if you were to put Flame Swordsman back. Yes, it is a big drain on your life points because you're already paying 1200 per field spell. So at the very least, you could be burning through 4200. But at the end of the day, heroes do that with Hero Lives. There's loads of deck that burn through their own life points. You just need to make sure you don't do that going into game 3. So it's just a really, really cool kind of extension option. I really like it because it's one of the ones that your opponent cannot stop. Like, yes, they can stop the Neospatian Connector. Yes, they can imperm the Yugioh to stop the Foolish Burial. And if you haven't got any way to extend any further, it's not going to go anywhere. But then you've got the ability of Ready Fusion and Instant Fusion that still get the job done. Now, the other engine to consider is the Battling Boxer engine. But the way I see it is the only difference between the Neospatian and the Battling Boxer engine is it's the ability that they are Fire Warriors. That being said, if the first Fire Warrior gets stopped and you don't have an extender, you're in the same position. I feel that Connector is a lot more fretful for the pure fact that you get to look at your opponent's hand. You're gaining full knowledge. Whether you discard a card off them or not, it allows you to go, right, okay, I need to play under Nibiru. I need to protect from Nibiru. Oh, they've held back an Imperm. Oh, they've actually got a Ghost spell, so I need to be careful with my graveyard effects. Or you know exactly what they've got in the hand as to what they're going to be able to break. So if you see a Dark Ruler No More, you go, right, okay, I need to load up my monster with equip spells. If you see a Kaiju, you need to spread your resources across the board so that a single Kaiju doesn't end your turn or allows them to break your board. The final monster is, of course, Triple Ash Blossom. You can obviously recycle this if you were to get extremely spicy and play Salamangreat Sunlight Wolf in the extra deck. I'm not doing that. It's still just like a very good generic card. This can very easily be imperms if you want it to be. It could be more board breakers. I have gone with a small, and I'm just going to show you this now. I've gone with a 4-card board breaking engine because you can't guarantee to go first. Now, if you wanted to, your Ashes could become more board breakers. You could go for stuff like Kaijus. If you're really, really worried, you can go for Dark Ruler No More. You can probably play a range. So you could play like 2 Triple Tactics Frost, plus 1 Talents, 1 Lightning Storm, 1 Evenly, 1 Dark Ruler No More, and then 1 Dark Hole, for example. So you do have other options to play if you wanted to. So this is just like a little 7-card area in the deck that could be flexible if you wanted to. Carrying on, I am playing Triple Museum and the 1 Terraforming. A lot of people are not playing Terraforming for the pure fact that they're worried about Droll. Completely understandable. If your local environment is notorious for main decking Drolls in games 1, then you might want to reconsider it. But the idea of the deck is you don't really want to activate Museum unless you've got a way to try and bait out first. You want to try and do everything you can before you conduct that first summon, and you want to, first search. And when you do conduct that first search, you want to make sure that it's so important and critical that even if you get drolled, you're still able to set up a very powerful board. We've then got Triple Gyarados, obviously the best rotor of the deck in a sense, which is really, really good. Speaking of rotor, of course we do play the 1 rotor. But then for your other equip kind of lead into the equips, you've got Triple Heritage. So again, this is another one that you don't really want to activate Heritage and then get hit with a droll, because the chances are what you're going to be searching off for Heritage is more so than not going to be a Noble Arms that's going to give you an additional search, or you're going to go direct for a Noble Knight, which is obviously going to be your Ogier. Or Oliver, if you need the extender. Then for the other equips, we play one of, we've got Living Fossil, just because if you see it, it's a nice little monster reborn to give you a level 4 or lower. Divine Phoenix Sword, just being able to loop this as an equipped spell, triggering Angelica. Everything else is insanely important as well. And then of course you've got Almace and Joyous. So you could, if you wanted to, like I said, if you wanted to main deck the Metal Silver Armor, you could look at cutting one of these. But the idea is that Almace is important for the combo to protect you from the Nibiru. Phoenix Blade is important to be able to loop it back from the graveyard. And the Living Fossil is just one of them ones where it's great to have as a Monster Reborn option. But if you wanted to, you could very easily take this out and then put in the Metal Silver Armor. And that means when you're making Isolde, you kind of want to be able to send both of these to the graveyard. That's your only real kind of juxtaposition, in the sense that you want to send the Phoenix Blade to keep looping it back, to keep having that resource of being able to equip, whether it be to a Charles, whether it be to Angelica. Whereas with the Metal Silver Armor, you kind of want it to be one of the ones that gets to the graveyard, and then during the end phase, off of a Charles, you equip this to your Boss Towers monster, and then build off the back of that. So it really does come down to, are you finding yourself going through Isolde plays and sending 4 to summon out your Ogier, or are you doing it another way around? Now, obviously, the connector combo that goes connector into Isolde, and then Isolde send 4 to get to Ogier, Ogier Foolish Burial, and then you kind of want to push into a Renard to add back and go from there, is also very, very important, but it's one of the ones that doesn't play through as many hand traps or doesn't give you as much protection as you might want. And then obviously the last 4 cards, like I said before, are your board breaking cards. So you can change these up if you want to. You can make them, like I said, Dark Rulers, board breakers in forms of Raigekis, Dark Holes, you name it. Moving on to the extra deck, of course, we are playing 2 Isolde, the Tales of the Noble Knights. So important for the deck, very, very good link monster. I would probably say it's on par with Angelica. Like, I would say both of these are like, if you want to go, your synchro route is just as important. Like, Angelica is the synchro version of Isolde, and Isolde is the link monster of Angelica. They're both so good. Now, obviously, their effects are a little bit different, but what I'm saying is, like, Isolde is your go-to link monster. It's the first link monster you will probably make. Unless you actually have to make the Ferocious Flame Swordsman first. And then Angelica is your first synchro monster you're going to make. So both incredibly good, very, very important, absolutely amazing additions for the deck. Then, of course, we've got the one Ferocious, I'll get there eventually, Flame Swordsman. So this is just one of them times where you might need to get either a boost on the board, which is really kind of easily done, and a Fire Warrior because you control Isolde. So it's like, okay, I've got my connector play, but I've actually got my extenders in the hand that I need a little bit more, and then I can go Isolde. So you put the connectors into Connector and Neospatian into the Flame Swordsman. You've now got a Fire Warrior, extend, go into Isolde. Then, of course, we do have the 2 Emperor Charles the Great. And then I'm still playing the 1 Goki, the Power Load Ogre. You don't have to play this. You can change it up if you want to. I just like the idea of having a Link 4 towers that can then be backed up by having 2 level 1 or Link 1 towers as well. Really, really kind of cool. And it's obviously got that ability to tribute it and then destroy cards equal up to the number of Link range. So just a nice little tribute, pop off 4 and off you go. Which is absolutely fine to do when you've got 2 Link 1s that are going to be 3k plus on board, because your field spell is going to give him a boost, and then the equip spell that it has is going to give it a boost and everything else. For the XYZs, of course, we've got the 1 Custane, the 1 Argus, and the 1 Zeus. Personally, I think Custane is insanely good. Like, the bounce effect is really, really nice. But then the idea is that you're supposed to go Custane, get Custane off the board, go into Argus. Argus deals with back row, re-equips the equip spells from the graveyard, and then you can Zeus and go fat stack. For the other synchros, of course, we've got the 1 Roland, the 2 Charles, and then previously shown the 1 Flame Swordsman. I would like to get this as a super, would be really, really kind of cool. Considering it's just had a nice reprint as well, but I like the old school look of the card. Anyway, that's pretty much it for a spicy little take. I haven't seen, I don't think I saw any of all the profiles I've seen, I haven't seen any that have used the instant fusion or ready fusion combo. I just think it's an insanely good extender. I think it's an extender that doesn't require you to have anything. It doesn't require there can't be a way where it's like, oh, if you control a monster, you can't use this card kind of thing. It's just one of the ones. As long as you've got life points and as long as you've got Flame Swordsman in your extra deck, you're good to rock and roll. And if I'm going to get unicorned by my opponent and they're going to look at my extra deck, I would be amazed if they hit my Flame Swordsman. I mean, especially when I've got 2 ofs of all my boss monsters. This is on the flip side. If you are going to look at your opponent's extra deck, personally, I think the first one they go for is Zeus if they're going first. And then I think, like, to kind of slow the combo down or stop the combo, I'd then go for Roland, would be my opinion. Everything else of it is, you know, you're playing 2 ofs, so you don't really mind. And that is it, ladies and gentlemen. If you do have any questions at all, by all means, please let me know in the comments down below. I'll be more than happy to answer them for you. But for now, thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, share. Till next time, as absolutely always, stay safe, and of course, happy dueling.